Up next, we have a presentation from the RCN network. And RCN is an open source global credit network that connects lenders, borrowers, and loan originators on the blockchain. Today, we are joined by Manuel, Juan, and Nicholas, and they're here to give us a deep dive into all the technology and the cool things that they're doing over at RCN. So thank you guys for joining us. I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you for having us, Abby. We are really happy to be here at Smart Contract Summit by Chainlink. And we have only 30 minutes, so let's make them count. I'm going to start sharing my screen. We'll be sharing a presentation. As Abby said, I'm Juan Charovsky. I'm RCN's head of communications, and I'm joined by Manuel, who is in charge of product development, and Nicholas, who is in charge of, he's the tech lead. And today's presentation is called Connecting DeFi and CeFi, two very important words in emerging economies, because that's what RCN does. So let's go into it. I'm going to start by giving you a brief introduction to what RCN is, what RCN does, and what can offer to you. So the best way to describe RCN is like an open source global credit network that connects lenders, borrowers, and loan originators on the blockchain to create frictionless, transparent, and borderless debt markets. And I know this is a really long and complex sentence, so I'm going to break it down for you. The first thing to notice here is that RCN is a global credit network, and that implies RCN is a protocol. Unlike other projects, like, for example, Dharma, which is mounted on top of Compound, a third-party protocol, RCN has a that allows users to access this protocol and its own protocol. The protocol is, of course, open source. It connects lenders, borrowers, and loan originators. Those are the three stakeholders that are part of the RCN network. Lenders and borrowers, you, of course, already know. They are really common in DeFi. But loan originators are something special that RCN introduces, and I'm going to describe them in just a second. And, of course, they are connected in the blockchain. And when we talk about blockchain, we mean, of course, the Ethereum blockchain. At the moment, RCN is not working in any other blockchains. So before going to the next slide, I'm going to give you just a little bit of history. RCN was born in 2017, 3 years ago, as a spin-off of Ripio. You might have heard of Ripio, especially if you're from Latin America. Ripio is one of the biggest blockchain service providers in Latin America, has operations in 3 countries, Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina, and is expanding to the rest of Latin America as well as Europe, and it has just reached 500,000 users. In 2017, the Ripio team decided to create the vision for RCN, and they did an ICO, and that was the origin of RCN. So currently, the RCN team is comprised by 8 members, plus a few external frequent contributors. Those are Manuel Beards, who is here with us. He works in product development. Me, myself, I'm head of communications. Marianela Paez, she is head of design. She is working on UX, UI design for the RCN Credit Marketplace, as well as all our brand in social media networks. Gabriela Olivares, who manages social media. Nicolas, who is also here with us. And he works, he's the tech lead, and he also codes in Solidity smart contracts. Victor, who is the other Solidity developer. Gonzalo Fernandez, who works backend development, and Nicolas, the other Nicolas, who works front-end development. So as I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, the RCN network is comprised not only by lenders and borrowers, which are really common in DeFi, but also by a third type of stakeholder, which is originators. So what is an originator? Now, originators are essentially borrowers, but they are not individual persons or retail borrowers. They are companies or institutions, or what we could call real-world entities that get into the Ethereum blockchain through RCN to request funds in larger quantities to fund their own operations. And this is important because RCN, to the best of my knowledge at least, RCN is the only platform that allows this type of entities to access what we call DeFi. So I mentioned RCN started in 2017, and those 3 years have been really productive for the team. And there has been developments in 2 main lines of works. One is the open source, what we could call the open source line of work, which is related to the protocol. And the other one is the not open source line of work, which is related to the RCN Credit Marketplace, which is the dApp. Let me start talking to you about the protocol. The protocol is currently in its 4th iteration, which is called Diaspora. It's, as I mentioned, open source and operates, for the time being, funds only in RCN's native token, which is called also RCN. It has a modular structure designed to allow a fast iteration and a fast addition of new features and tools. And it's compatible with a wide variety of backends, loan models, and oracles. So before I continue, let me get back to this RCN native token only, because this is true now, of course, but it's going to change very soon. But because the team is working on generating a new engine, what we call the RCN token, the engine of the protocol, is developing a new engine which is going to be USDC. I think you all know USDC is the stablecoin, one of the most rolled stablecoins, and is developed by Circle. Regarding backends, loan models, and oracles, we're being in a Chainlink event. I think you all know what an oracle is and the importance of them. But backends are basically what protects lenders against a default, and loan models are the different ways in which a borrower can choose to repay his or her debt in installments, in 1, 2, 3 installments, just in one installment. So something very important for RCN is this variety. You can see the word variety here. And the idea is not just to offer one lending product, one borrowing product, is to offer a wide variety of these things. And that is the thing that gives its name to the credit marketplace. It's not a credit platform, just it's a credit marketplace, because it's a market that offers a lot of alternatives regarding DeFi and CeFi solutions. So as I mentioned before, the credit marketplace, which is the dApp, you can access it at rcn.market. It's very simple. Offers both CeFi and DeFi loans. DeFi loans are peer-to-peer. That's really, really important. I'm going to go back to that in a minute. And CeFi loans, which are also important, I'm going to explain them in the next slide. Another important aspect of the RCN credit marketplace is that it's non-custodial. As you all know, in the DeFi world or the open finance world, you have both custodial. RCN is one of the few that offers DeFi and CeFi loans, but it's also completely non-custodial. You can choose multiple wallets to access it. I'm going to tell them which they are in a second. But in every case, you control the funds. You don't have an account with a Gmail, which is connect your wallet, and the funds always. You can borrow and cryptocurrencies. The word fiat is really important there, and it's related to Chainlink. I'm going to tell you guys more about that at the end. And something really cool of this for me for RCN is that besides gas cost, Ethereum transaction cost, the platform charges 0 fees for borrowing, lending, or whatever thing you want to do on the app. So let's talk about integrations. The first and one of the most important integrations for RCN was, of course, with Ripio. I already told you guys what Ripio is. And Ripio joined the platform really early on as a loan originator, requesting funds in a CeFi way to fund its own expansion. The second integration, or one of the first integrations was MetaMask, followed by Wallet Connect and Coinbase Wallet. Those are the 3 wallets RCN users can use to access the credit marketplace. Now, and I'm going to leave Uniswap and Chainlink for later, but another integrations are MakerDAO and Center. They, of course, provide something really, really important for RCN, which are stablecoins. MakerDAO are, of course, the creators of the DAI stablecoin, and Center are the creators, I mentioned them before, the creators of USDC, one of the most popular stablecoins. So why did I leave Uniswap and Chainlink for later? That is because they are really, really important, and they are what we call service providers or infrastructure providers. Uniswap, I think you all know it, is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, liquidity provider. It allows RCN users to use multiple currencies on the credit marketplace. Chainlink, which this is a new integration, it's not fully integrated as of now. We're working to integrate it. Probably it's going to be up and running by Q4. Will allow RCN users to denominate debt in a series of different assets, including fiat and cryptocurrencies, stablecoins, DeFi tokens, but most importantly, fiat currencies. And I think you guys are very lucky because you are the first people in all the world, besides the RCN team, to hear about this. This is a new revelation we are sharing with you. RCN is going to integrate Chainlink, and you're the first ones to know it. So loan times. I mentioned before that what sets RCN apart from other platforms in the ecosystem is this variety and this decision to play both with both CeFi and DeFi loans. You'll know the platforms like Compound. that is a great platform for DeFi lending, and you also have platforms like Celsius, and they do CeFi lending. But at least to the best of my knowledge, no platform offers both products, both DeFi loans and CeFi loans. So RCN does, and I think that's really special. And let me explain the difference between both type of loans. DeFi loans, that's probably the one you know more. They are requested by retail borrowers and funded by retail lenders. They usually used to finance leveraged crypto positions. They are usually denominated in crypto. And of course, they are backed by crypto collateral. So this is pretty standard. DeFi loans in RCN are pretty similar to DeFi loans in any other platforms, but they have one main difference, which is peer-to-peer. We don't use pool-based systems like, for example, Compound or most most platforms. We use a peer-to-peer system, and I'm going to explain the advantages and the reasons why we think that is the best system in a while. But before that, let me get back to CeFi loans. As I mentioned before, they are not requested by people or by individuals. They are requested by what we call originators, which are real-world entities. They can be companies, NGOs, any kind of entity, and they are used to finance what we could call real-world expenses, not crypto positions or crypto investments, but real-world expenditures. In the case of Ripio, the company is using the loans it's borrowing to expand its operations through Latin America. Unlike DeFi loans, there can be denominated in crypto, but also in fiat currency. Currently, Ripio is denominated its loans in ARS, which is Argentinian pesos, and they are backed by the reputation of the borrower, much like a traditional loan in traditional finance. So we have like this merge, and hence this is what gives the title to this presentation. We have like this merge of worlds. We have DeFi loans representing the new finance or the open finance based in smart contracts, and we have CeFi loans, which represent the finance and traditional finance stakeholders to the blockchain, to the Ethereum blockchain. So this is my favorite part, because now I get to tell you why I think RCN is really something different from all the rest of the ecosystem, and why you should try it and choose it as your default platform for lending and borrowing. The first three items, diversified lending options, multi-currency lending and borrowing, and non-custodial multi-wallet login, I have already mentioned. I'm going to go over them really fast. Diversified lending options is just the support for both CeFi and DeFi loans, which allow lenders to create diversified portfolios in just one platform. Multi-currency lending and borrowing, which is now going to be supported by Chainlink 2, allows them to choose multiple currencies, which can be either fiat or crypto, to denominate, lend, and collateralized loans. And the non-custodial aspects of the platform allows you to use multiple wallets to log in and always keep your funds yourself. That I have already told you about, but what I haven't told you about is the next three advantages, which are efficient service spread DeFi loans, a complex names for a really, really cool thing, customizable DeFi borrowing, and stable rate lending and borrowing. And these are three things that stem from RCN's strategy to use a peer-to-peer methodology to approach DeFi and not a pool-based methodology. So let me explain the difference really shortly between pools and peer-to-peer. Let's say, for example, you are using Compound. If you go to Loanscan, which is a platform that gives you APRs for different DeFi protocols, you will see that the Compound or any platform actually has two APRs. You have one APR for borrowers and one APR for lenders. The APR for borrowers, let's say, for example, it's 10%, and the one for lenders is 5%. And the first thing you will notice is that they are different. They are always different, and the APR for borrowers is always bigger than the one for lenders. And this is because what separates both APRs is what we call the spread. That difference, in this case, 5% difference, is what we call the spread, and that spread is used to incentivize liquidity providers to feed the liquidity pool. But RCN doesn't have a liquidity pool, and therefore doesn't have liquidity providers. So what peer-to-peer loans, which are requested by a borrower and funded by a lender directly without third parties in the middle, they allow you to scratch that spread from the middle, and that allows each of those users, both the lender and the borrower, to like split the difference and meet halfway. This is good because let's go back to the example. Let's say a borrower was borrowing at 10% APR, and a lender was funding a loan at 5% APR. in RCN, they could both borrow and earn at 7.5, for example, if the difference was symmetrical. So now the lender is earning 50% more, and the borrower is paying 2.5 percentage points less than he was paying before. So getting the liquidity pool out of the middle of the equation allows you to be efficient, what we call efficiency in DeFi loans. Other cool properties about DeFi borrowing are customization. Without a liquidity pool, you don't have to submit to the current APRs determined by the pool. You can choose your own APR. For example, a borrower in RCN could choose that he or she wants to borrow at 75%, and that's his or her own decision. And then lenders can evaluate if that APR is right for them. But the important thing is that borrowers can make the decision to choose and do some kind of price or APR exploration, which is not determined by what the pool says. And the sixth property, which is really related to the other two, is stable rates. When you're putting money on a liquidity pool for earning or borrowing money from that liquidity pool, the APR you're paying or you're receiving may vary overnight. For example, let's say you enter a liquidity pool with a 5% APR and you go to sleep, and in the morning that APR might be reduced to 1% or 2% or whatever. When you are funding or borrowing, it goes both ways. An RCN loan, you know the APR you sign, you agreed at the beginning, it's going to be the same that you are going to be receiving or paying at the end. So it's really predictable. So we have some example. This is marketing material which has released for the new marketing campaign that was deployed actually this Monday. And here we have CeFi and DeFi lending, and here are the APRs currently available. Lenders can fund loans in RCN. That the blue logo there, that the token is RCN token. They can fund loans in RCN for a 5 to 15% APR, or they can do the same for USDC loans. And if they want to, and that's of course the DeFi alternative, if they want to go the CeFi way, they can fund loans denominated in ARS, that's Argentinian pesos, at a 70% APR, which is really, really interesting because while it might be a little bit riskier than, let's say, USDC, the yield is nominally way higher. So I think that's really attractive for a certain type of lenders. And conversely, for the borrowers, this is kind of the same than this, but from the other point of view. Borrowers can choose to borrow in USDC using a 5 to 15% APR, which of course they get to choose, and collateralize that with RCN at 200% minimum loan to value, or do it the other way around. So now I'm going to go over what RCN has achieved since 2017 and what lies ahead. The past. So the first thing RCN did after the ICO and during the first month of development was to develop the cornerstone of the whole project, which is, of course, the RCN protocol, which, as I have mentioned before, is currently on its fourth version, which is called Diaspora. And on top of that, soon followed the RCN Credit Marketplace, which is the platform that allows users to access that protocol. The first product that the Credit Marketplace released was CeFi loans, requested by Ripio, with these APRs. After that, it released a number of features. Of course, we can show all of them here. These are just the most important, but a number of features that allows lenders to fund those CeFi loans. At this moment, the RCN Credit Marketplace was not providing services to borrowers, just lenders. The only borrower were the loan originators, and lenders could fund those CeFi loans with multiple currencies, and that is what we call multi-currency lending via Uniswap integration, and then with logging in with multiple wallets via all the wallets I mentioned. And very recently, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, I don't think a month has gone by, RCN released DeFi loans in this peer-to-peer fashion, which allows lenders to fund this type of loans, and also allows for the first time borrowers to get into the platform and request funds with these type of loans. And now the future, you will see we don't have many things here because this event came in a really interesting time for us, because we are redefining our whole roadmap to embrace this DeFi plus CeFi version. So it's really not set in stone at the moment. We're going to announce it very soon. But what we can tell you now is that the next step for RCN is what we call installment models that will allow borrowers to choose how they want to repay their debt, either in one installment or multiple installments. And of course, as I have mentioned before, the next step, and I think this will be ready in Q4, and we are really excited, is Chainlink's integration, which will allow RCN to incorporate really a lot of other currencies, including both crypto and fiat. So that's basically the 101 of RCN. I'm sure we have a lot of questions and answers. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to reintroduce Manuel, which, as I have said before, works in product, and Nicolas, which is our head of technology, and they are going to answer some of the questions you have been making up to this point. Manuel, Nicolas, are you there?
So I wanted to address a question that wasn't asked, because I've been screening the questions and nobody asked this one. I think is interesting, so I'm going to ask it myself and answer it. So why is it that we're integrating Chainlink? We have our own model of oracles that the community has, the RCN community has developed, and in order for us to scale, we saw Chainlink as a very good as the most robust product available for our Oracle integration, and we want to add more fiat pairs to our ask and investing in the platform. So that's why we chose Chainlink, because we want to bridge the gap between the, as you said, CeFi loans. And by that we mean like real world loans, mostly uncollateralized, with what that implies, and the crypto world. So that's one of the first steps down that road. So regarding that matter, as we're in the Chainlink Summit, and that is the integration we are currently developing. I'm so sorry for my accent. I want to ask Nicolas about why we chose Chainlink as an oracle from the technical point of view, and what are the challenges that implied.
Okay, as Manuel says, we need something to scale our oracles, because we need to add a new range, a wide variety of new oracles, and we need the fiat pairs so we can offer more to the vendors. So we search the different options, and we go with Link, because we find it quite simply to integrate. So and also it gives us both the fiat pairs and also the DeFi pairs, so that we can offer all these kind of new things. And the integration is the smart contract integration. Talking in a more technical aspect, it's been quite like without friction. So we are happy to integrate with Link.
Yes. So, and we also want to address some other questions that the community have in general. For example, a member asked why we chose ARS, that's pesos argentinos, that's Argentina's local currency, and that has to do with one originator that has loans denominated in that currency, and so in order for you to have hedge, and it needs to be financially coherent with the book. I mean, you have to have your assets and your debts hedged. So if you give loans in Argentinian pesos, it's very good for you to have your funding in Argentinian pesos in order to have that hedge, your currency hedge. As we evolve in the fiat pairs, we are going to be looking at other markets that are in need for financing in their local currency, in order to integrate that currency and be able for that originator to ask for financing in their local currency. So I see is RCN looking forward for Chainlink staking, or is okay with current Chainlink process? Chainlink staking, I think not. We are not currently looking at any staking program for RCN or Chainlink. We are not currently in that. We don't have that in our roadmap. But we are looking at different countries in order for and local currencies for future originators. So I think Mexico and Brazil. Ben Marlow asks, what are the greatest growth areas in LATAM? That's Latin American. I think Brazil and Mexico are the biggest LATAM countries, and their fintech sectors are expanding very rapidly, and they're in need for financing. So I think that those are some of the markets we're currently looking at in the Latin American space. How do you analyze the credit risk of the originators? It depends of the case. So we offer some guarantees in order for the originator to repay their debt, but it's something that we're working on. So the investor has some risk, so it's not a risk-free investing, but we try to look out for them and offer them the most available guarantees we have. So yes, we're mainly focused on the origin of RCN. It was peer-to-peer lending, so we want to keep faithful to that original proposal. So that's what we are working on. Do you have anything to add, Juan or Nico?
Yeah. Do you see this is one interesting thing? We have a couple more minutes. Do you see DeFi adoption being faster in South America versus North America? Because first-hand experiences with hyperinflation. That's a really good question. We really know. We're from Argentina, actually. We know something about inflation. I'm not sure about adoption, because adoption has a lot of factors. The need for DeFi in Latin America is really huge because of inflation and really not great monetary policy. But you also have another things into the mix. So I'm not really sure about adoption, but I think this proposal that will allow people to borrow a cryptocurrency against, for example, their own currencies, peso or Brazilian reales, with Chainlink, I think that's going to really to resonate with a lot of people that are in Latin America, that are already in the crypto scenario, and they're really worried about hyperinflation, especially now that, as you all know, because of the current COVID-19 pandemic, monetary policy is being quite expensive, and that might generate inflation. So I think this is a really interesting time to be experimenting with this, to offer Latin American citizens from various countries the opportunity to get into DeFi with that fiat components.
So
okay.
I want to add that to that answer. I want to add that we see a very fast adoption of stablecoins, USD denominated stablecoins in developing countries, in order for the retail investor to preserve their savings. But we don't see that incremental adoption going to DeFi. So their current use is just like staking. I mean, people just buy their stable coins and they keep them. So we want to provide an alternative to that and offer a fixed income yield based on the real world business.
just one more minute, Abby. I don't want to mess the entire schedule. So if you want to know more about RCN, you can find the app we are talking about, the credit marketplace, at rcn.market. You can go to the website at rcn.finance, and you can find RCN on Twitter at rcn.finance. In any one of those places, you will find a link to a Telegram chat group, which is the place in which you will find the current conversation about RCN. So if you have more questions, we invite you to join us. Let's talk about RCN and make it something really good.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Abby. It was a real pleasure.